champion. Can you imagine? I couldn't believe that we got Hyder. I mean, you're a champ, man. How on earth are you free this weekend?
You guys are lucky.
So, yeah, I think we were lucky. So, let me just tell you, folks, what Hyder has said about himself. He's a charisma coach. Wow. Charismatic, huh? A corporate trainer, an author, and director of the High Flyer Nation. As a charisma specialist, he coaches and trains high performing leaders, financial advisors, and business owners to command a high level of influence, respect, and charisma on the stage. But today, we have Hyder Taufik, the District 80 evaluation champion, to come and share tips and tricks on how to evaluate. So while we've been having evaluations, he's been looking and listening and jotting. Over to you, Hyder.
Thank you very much, Preeti. Club President, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, good afternoon. Now, it's really a pleasure for me to be here at this joint meeting with SSA Toastmasters and Punggol West Toastmasters. So my role for today is a very special segment where I will be evaluating the evaluators and at the same time be sharing with all of you some tips on how you can improve your evaluation level or rather your standard for evaluation. Now, there are many ways to improve evaluations. So I will be sharing with you some of my personal secrets so that you can start winning your evaluation ribbons and, of course, contests at a higher level. Are you guys excited? Yes? All right.
Yay.
Can I just check? Do I still have 15 minutes? Or would I need to?
Mm,
I
don't
think
pause too much.
Yeah, I think keep your timing. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, I will give you the 5
Thank you.
minutes from the like what I would close on. So I will not be closing this that we'll just let it be for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Madam
Yeah.
President. All right. So I will split into two parts. The first part of this segment is I will share with you 3 tips on what you can do or to implement so that you can improve your evaluation. And then the second part is I will give specific feedback to all the evaluators here today. All right. So that will be the gem of today's segment. Now, evaluation tips and tricks. Now, remember that in evaluation, there's no tricks. You just have to practice and you just have to keep better at it, but you need to know the techniques. So while there are no tricks to evaluation, there's definitely magic if you give a really, really insightful evaluation. So I'm going to teach you how you can create magic here today. All right. So tip number 1. Okay. Tip number 1, very simple. You must always remember that as an evaluator, you don't have a lot of time. You don't. So one of the key skills an evaluator must be able to do is to really identify what are the key points of improvement and the key strengths that the speaker has that they need to hear. All right. So you must be able to sift through all the different things that you can say and just focus on maximum 3 to 4 points. All right. So that's tip number 1. Focus on 3 to 4 points per your evaluation. Some evaluations I give 3 points maximum. Some evaluations I give 4 points maximum, but I never give 5 because 5 will take up too much time. And you must remember that for quality evaluations, it's not about breadth, it's about depth. Okay, so you want to be able to expound and elaborate on the points that you make about the speaker, right? You want to go deep. So how you know this is by the time you see the red light, you should not be adding any more points. Okay, by the time you see your red light, no more points. You should just wrap up your last point and start the summary already, right? Because the moment you have 30 seconds left, no more points, all right? So just summarize from that on, okay? So 3 to 4 points. Then people generally ask me, okay, how many for the grade points? How many for the commendations? How many for the recommendations? Now that really depends. Sometimes I like 2 commendations, 2 great things that the speaker did, 1 thing that the speaker can really work on. Because if you only focus on 1 thing, the speaker would definitely remember and definitely have a high chance of implementing it in their next speech. If you give 3 or 4 points that they can improve, unlikely they're going to remember everything, even if they pay attention to you. Okay. Now, if you have 4 points, I would usually like to balance it out. Sometimes I do 2 commendations and 2 recommendations. For some speakers, if they do something really, really well, then I like to talk about the main strength and then give 3 recommendations. So that's entirely up to you. Okay. So are we clear on this? Right? 3 to 4 points maximum, right? Don't have too many points. Okay. Next tip. Next tip is for each point in your evaluation, you want to make sure that you have a clear structure of what, why, and how. What, why, and how for every point. Okay, so if let's say you have 3 points, every point you must have what, why, how, what, why, how, what, why, how. And then your evaluation will feel very complete. So what do I mean by that? So for the good things that the speaker did, what did they do well? Why was it effective? And how did they do it, right? How did they do it that was so impressive to you, right? Okay, so what did they do well? Why was it effective? And how did they do it? Now, how they did it, okay? For recommendations, you can touch on what can they consider doing, right? What is your recommendation for them? What can they consider doing? Why should they do that, right? Why is it that if they do that, it will make their speech more effective? And finally, how? Great evaluators, they don't just tell, they show. They show the speaker how it can be done. Okay, so I'm just going to give a very simple example, right? So let's talk about, let's say, Bianca, right? If I was Me Too, and no, Me Too did very well. Later, I'll go into Me Too's evaluation, right? But one thing, if let's say I was evaluating Bianca today, I could say something like, Bianca, my advice to you is that you should acknowledge your disruptors, Anupama, Priti, Smita, and not ignore them. That's the what. Now, why you should do that is because when you acknowledge them, all right, you must understand that when you don't acknowledge them, they are not just interrupting you, they are interrupting everyone in the session. So if you allow them to say whatever they want, the rest of the audience will not just be upset with them, they will be upset with you for not doing anything about it. So it's a bit like a permissive teacher at the mercy of naughty students. All right. So one thing you could do, right? Now I'm going to the how. One thing you could do is you could say, Pretty, I know you're curious about the cockroach, but out of respect for everyone here, can we please discuss the cockroach offline after the meeting? I'll spend some time with you so that I'll share with you more stories about the cockroach, Ken? Right? But we have to get back to the segment. Can we do that? Great. Thank you, Pretty. Okay. So that is how you can do it. So show her how she can handle the disruptors. All right. So in every point, what, why, and how. All right. Am I making sense so far? Is this clear? All right. Thank you. Thank you for the response. All right. Now, next tip. All right. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is I like to have a fixed structure and template for all my evaluations. So tip number 3 is have a fixed structure and template for all your evaluations. So I want you to just imagine, because every single evaluation that I do, right, especially if you are participating in contests, they only give you one sheet of paper to do it. You don't have a lot. Sometimes you get 2, but you don't have a lot of time to take up all the sheets of paper. So generally what I like to do, and I like to invite all of you to do this with me. If you have a piece of paper in front of you, let's say that is your evaluation sheet, I want you to draw a line in the center. That is what I always do. All right. I always draw a line in the center. And then on the left column, I would write the speaker's name at the top, right? So you can write the speaker's name at the top. And then you can write point number 1, point number 2, point number 3 vertically in a column. All right. So that is only in the left column. Okay. So I will leave some space for point 1, point 2, point 3. So it gives me space to write down. If let's say I find that, okay, Zara had a lot of, her strength is confidence. So I write number 1, she was very confident. Okay. Then I will write the why below there and the how. And then I'll move on to number 2, number 3. So what do you do in the right column then? Okay, in the right column, you write down all the things that the speaker did or said. All right. So for example, if let's say Zahra mentioned a number of points that you want to mention in your evaluation, I will write down in the right column. She gave a TED talk, right? Loves theater, adrenaline junkie. So I will write down the exact examples that she gave. So what I will do is I will look at point number 1 and then example. Point number 2, example. Point number 3, example. Does that make sense? Okay. So while I'm listening to the speaker, most of the time I'm filling up the right column, the one full of examples, so that I don't miss out what they say. All right. And then after the speech is done, I will fill up the left column. Oh, this was great language. Oh, the hand gestures was really nice. Okay. Then I will fill it up as I go along. Okay. So what tends to happen is that I will have 2 columns full, and then I will have my summary at the bottom. So when I am referring to my notes as I'm delivering my evaluation, my eyes just go top left, top right, then middle left, middle right, then bottom left, bottom right. So your brain, you're working with your brain. All right, because that is how our brain is trained to read, all right, left to right. Okay, unless maybe you're Arabic, then right to left. Okay, so it really depends on how you want to do it. But for me, I prefer this particular template, and I do it for every evaluation so that my mind knows exactly what to touch on and where to go next. Okay, if not, what tends to happen is you have your notes all over the paper. How many of you as evaluators, you've done that? You've written your notes everywhere. And then you're like, so the second point, wait, I've touched on this already. No, I need to go here. Right? Then you end up flipping and flipping, then you're like, you're lost. You're taking up a lot of time. Okay, so make the template simple, and you will make your life simple. All right. Okay, so I think that was tip number 3. Are we clear so far? All right. By the way, those are my pro tips. Those are the tips that I use to win the district championship. So if you want to be a district champion, you must use those tips. Okay, must apply. All right. Okay, are we good on time so far? Can I just check? Yes. All right. So now for the second part of my segment today, I'm going to give some feedback to all the evaluators here. All right. Let's start off with evaluator number 1, Smita. All right. Smita is here. Is Smita here? Can't see. Oh, yes, she is. 2 different screens. Okay. Yes. All right. So Smita, now your recommendation for Zahra was spot on. All right. You got her to choose 2 to 3 points max and go deeper, because we know many facts about Zahra, right? Born in UK, moved to Singapore, Zoroastrian, gave a TED talk, loves theater, adrenaline junkie, foodie, traveler, so many things, right? But you got her to choose only 2 to 3 points max so that she can go deeper into the stories. All right. Now, my recommendations for you, Smita, is that I want you to consider spending a bit more time on Zahra's strengths, right? Because this is her icebreaker speech. So for an icebreaker speech, generally for new speakers, we want to spend more time on the good points. We want to encourage them. Share with them what are some of the gifts that Zahra has. You know, Zahra has a lot of gifts. In fact, she's a TEDx speaker. All right, she's better than many of us here already. Okay, so you must affirm her and reassure her. Okay, so share with her. Because for you, your strengths for Zahra, you touch on them very briefly. Sort of how Zahra also touched on her facts very briefly. So you mentioned that Zahra, okay, she used a prop, and then what she had a sense of humor. So why was it good to have a sense of humor? Why the prop? What is it about the prop that was useful, that was missing in your evaluation? And okay, this is the one. Okay, Smita, I want you to remember this. Okay, try to cut down on your context setting. All right, your introductory context setting at the start, you took up a lot of valuable time. I think you took too long. You took like 1 minute, and the evaluation has not started yet. By the time you got to Zahra's first strength, it was like 1 minute plus. Okay, so for those of you who don't remember, Smita's context setting was something like this. Thank you, Zahra, for your amazing speech. As we all know, it's important for all speeches to have 2 parts, the structure, the delivery. And delivery is very important. And as your evaluator, I'll be sharing your evaluation into 3 parts so that you can better improve your delivery and your structure. And by the time you're done, you're done with that, It's like 1 minute already. You haven't even touched on anything. So skip the context, get right into it, right? Go straight into Zara's strengths. So what I would do, okay, I would say something like, Zara, amazing icebreaker. Immediately off the bat, I love how confident you are. You had great vocal variety, and it was something that captured the audience attention, blah, 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 blah. Right? So go straight into what she did well. Okay? Because the more time you spend on the context setting, the less time you have in your actual evaluation. So just take note of that point. You definitely can shine in your next evaluation. So well done, Smita. Let's give Smita a round of applause. All right. Okay, next we have Anupama. Where is Anupama? Okay, Zoom Master is working hard to make sure that they're spotlighting the right evaluators. Okay, there you are. All right, Anupama, very impressive. I love how you gave Tiru the recommendation. You explained why it was good, and your recommendation was spot on, right? Use pauses, avoid using the virtual background, and use more eye contact. That was amazing. I was evaluating Tiru myself, and a lot of our comments overlapped, right? And not just that, one thing that you were very impressive was that you are like a calm river with your pacing. You never needed to rush through your points in your evaluation. Your pacing was masterful. And I love that because a lot of evaluators, they have a lot of things to say. So they rush. They're like, okay, you did this well, and then you also did this well, and then you did this well, and then how you can improve is this, and I would really challenge you to do this, and then, so it's very fast-paced, but you did not do that. It was a shining example, okay? My personal advice for you is to add more demonstrations for Tiru, right? Show him how to pause. Use a sentence in Tiru's speech. Use it again, right? Rewrite it, and then pause. Use pauses so that you can demonstrate how effective it would be if he had paused. Okay, and for Tiru, he stood up, right? And he was looking at, the camera. He wasn't looking at us, right? And that was brilliantly highlighted by you. So demonstrate to us. If let's say I am Tiru, how would I sit? How would I look at my webcam? All right. So you may need to cut down your content a little bit to give yourself some space to demonstrate your evaluations. But other than that, great job, Anupama. Let's give Anupama a round of applause. Amazing. Next, we have Nasreen. Okay, Nasreen, who evaluated Mrinal. Where's Nasreen? There you go. All right, Nasreen. Nasreen is so dynamic and she's so articulate. Now, Nasreen, you are very encouraging for Mrinal. I really appreciated that. I like that you gave recommendations on Mrinal's voice modulation, emotions, and pausing. And you even coached her on how to do that. So I love that, right? That is a shining example of demonstrating how the speaker can do it. Now, my advice for you is to also take a look at the other areas, because when I evaluated Mrinal, personally, I felt that she would make a bigger difference if she worked on her content, not her delivery. Okay, so you must remember that there's many aspects of speaking, right? There is delivery, there is content, structure, there's speech purpose. Okay, so for generally what evaluators like to do is they like to evaluate based on the area that they know best, right? So if let's say you are very good at eye contact, you will tend to evaluate based on the person's eye contact. If you're very good at delivery, you will tend to evaluate based on delivery, right? So my challenge to you is try to evaluate based on other areas as well, like content. So for example, for Mrinal, what my recommendation for her is not just to tell, show, right? Because Mrinal told a lot, right? Her mother did this, her uncle went here, she did this during the war, her mom did embroidery, there were many dolls, right? So there was a lot of touch and go telling. All right. So, but one thing Mrinal could have done better is that she could have showed us, right? Imagine 1971. You would hear bombs going off in different places of your neighborhood. You have no clear idea where to go, but you need to get home. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my mom. Okay. So instead of saying 1971, there was a war, she could have showed us, right? So maybe you could encourage her to focus more on that in her speech, right? So again, in your evaluation, Nasreen, just take note to balance your evaluation, touch on different aspects of the speech, but other than that, well done. Let's give Nasreen a round of applause. Great job. All right, and finally, our fourth and final evaluator for the day, Mitu. Mitu, you were my favorite evaluator for today, right? Very, very impressive evaluation. In fact, you were very apt to evaluate Bianca on her speech purpose, right? Very encouraging for her, very supportive, very affirming, right? When Mitu spoke, it's like really like my caring mom telling me everything's going to be okay. So I really like that. And you even validated Bianca's courage and her ability to, dodge disruptions like dodging bullets, right? And here's the thing, Mitu, you also snuck in the acronym, the TACT, TACT, technique, attention, content, timing. That was so smooth. How did you even do that? I have no idea, but that was masterful on your part. Okay, now you did so well to emphasize that for Bianca, especially in her recommendation to Bianca, that the audience is the boss. All right, that is exactly how I felt as well. So it's just as important for Bianca to respond to the disruptors and not just let them be. Okay, so my advice to you, Mitu, most of your evaluation is already very well crafted, a little bit rushed at the end. Okay, I think because you spent a little bit more time reassuring Bianca that everything will be okay. So you could make that part more concise. And if you did, I think you would have more time to focus on the recommendations and you wouldn't have to rush through your summary. If you did that, you would have been a shining example for all of us here as evaluators. All right, so well done on that. Let's give Mitu a round of applause. Okay, now do remember that, and this is not just for Mitu, but do remember for everyone here, that for the project, managing a difficult audience, okay, by right, okay, according to the Toastmasters manual, if you are a disruptor, you should only disrupt once, all right? You should only disrupt once. But then again, the project says that you disrupt the moment, you stop disrupting the moment the speaker has acknowledged you, right? So Bianca, because you didn't acknowledge them, they kept interrupting you, right? So next time, acknowledge them, right? Yes, it's okay, right? So treat them like little children in a class of kindergarten students, right? And they will be fine, right? Everyone is there to play a role. We are here to help you as well, not to stress you out, okay? So other than that, I think we've come to the end of my segment today. Now, if you would like a freebie from me, all right, how many of you like freebies? All right, I have a free PDF ebook called The 5 Golden Keys to Charisma, and it is for all of you here for free. If you want that, please feel free to give some feedback for me in this link down here in the Zoom chat. So I've put a link here, and the link goes to a feedback form, a Google form. So just write your name, contact number, email address, and you can give a rating for the segment that I just gave here today. All right, any feedback or comments. And as you all know, I do training and coaching. So if you're interested to attend some of my trainings or even have a one-to-one coaching session with me, you can indicate that in the form as well. And of course, if you want a copy to the ebook, it's right there in the form. All right, so indicate that you'd like that and I'll send it to you to your email. All right, other than that, it's been a real pleasure to evaluate all of you here today. I had a lot of fun here at the joint meeting. Thank you so much, Preeti, for inviting me. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Hyder. And I am going to pass it on to President Rajul, who will take it from here as we have a time constraint.
Thank you, Hyder.